Hey everybody, I'm Kathy Hester. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make a whole food plant-based ice cream for your Ninja Creami. Don't have a Ninja Creami? Don't worry. You could also freeze this mixture in ice cube trays and then process it in your food processor, high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec. Or you can even put them through your Nana. You just might want to let them sit for a little while. So the way the Ninja Creami works is you actually put your ice cream mix in here and then you freeze it for 24 hours. Then we spin it. So it's kind of the exact opposite of if you're using like one of the ice cream makers that you put the container in the freezer. So what it does is it whips air in. What this does is it uses this blade, let me get that in there, and basically that blade comes out of here and spins around and makes it super creamy. Why is that even important with whole food plant-based? Well, we're using little sugar, no fat, and so that's going to make the mixture harder. So if I go ahead and use the churn machine, that's great, but it has to freeze up for a little while. After a whole food plant-based base freezes, it's going to be really hard and icy. So basically, we're making it icy to begin with, then we're fixing it right before we serve it. This is an inexpensive version, believe it or not. Yes, it is like $200. The next level of this is a professional machine called a PacoJet. And they are like $7,000 and $10,000. So this does not have all the capability, the strength, any of that, okay? It's a $200 household machine that makes amazing ice cream. So we've already made a banana vanilla ice cream, and I wanted to make another one that's kind of on the base. We're gonna use some bananas, some crushed pineapple with its juice, strawberries. These are frozen ones that I thawed. You could blend this in a blender and not thaw them, but I want to go ahead and thaw them, and I'll show you how we may need a little extra. And we're going to use a little bit of cocoa. If you don't like cocoa or you don't have any caffeine in your diet, you could use carob powder or leave it out completely. To me, I'm just trying to get all of the flavors in a banana split into this one tiny little pint. We're going to use some vanilla. You could use vanilla extract or vanilla powder. Vanilla powder has one ingredient, vanilla. So don't get the vanilla sugar. You could use vanilla sugar in this if you wanted to, but vanilla powder does not have sugar. And I'm suspecting these bananas may not be ripe enough, so I have some date syrup that I could add in. Usually I want my bananas a lot more spotty than this and a lot softer. But this is what I've got right now, and you can see some of the green, a little bit of green on the top. That lets me know it probably isn't quite ripe enough. There's some parts without spots, but you deal with the bananas you've got, so that's where we're gonna go. So we want about 3/4 of a cup strawberries, 3/4 of a cup bananas mashed. We're gonna do a tablespoon of cocoa, anywhere between a half and a teaspoon of vanilla, and you're going to cut that about in half if you're using vanilla powder. And let's get started. Okay, so like I said, I used fresh strawberries the first time, and we'll see how frozen these still are. They may still be a little bit frozen. What we want is when we squish them for it to be about a 3/4 of a cup. And in fact, this may not be. And let's talk about that for a second. So what if this is 2/3 of a cup instead of? We can make up any of that with non-dairy milk in the pint. So some of these are still kind of frozen, but I'm just mashing it. I could add more strawberries. You can use frozen strawberries that are not mashed. It's just since I'm measuring them. And let's go ahead and add in a couple more straight from the freezer. And I think that'll be about right. I'm gonna let these kind of thaw. Another thing I could do too is I could just put these in the microwave real quick so that I can mash them down some more. So let's go ahead and We'll pretend that's done, and we're going to do about 3/4 of a cup of banana. So we're going to peel these bananas, maybe one might do it, but you see how this should be much softer and more transparent. So I'm going to take a little taste, and it's not enough to sweeten up everything. It's sweet enough to eat. And let me get a couple more pieces because I don't, and then I'm just going to take this masher and mash it in here. I could mash these in the actual pint as well, but again, I'm trying to give you exact measurements. But if I was doing it myself, for me, I would just start mashing in the pint because we've got this max fill line. So we don't want to go above that. I'm going to go ahead and try 2 small bananas, maybe pretty close. And this is like horseshoes. Close is good enough. Okay. And this doesn't have to be super pureed. The reason I am mashing it again is so I can measure it. All right. So let me go ahead and we'll put that in the pint. Okay. Some of the juices come out. I'm going to go ahead and let that happen. If you're using fresh pineapple, try to get some of the juice if you can. If you can't, that's okay. And let's go ahead and put a little bit of vanilla in there. I'm going to take out the frozen strawberries I just put in there and put in this bigger one, which I normally wouldn't do. I just want to get some of that strawberry puree that's in there right now. You can use frozen fruit as is like this, but it has to be underneath and submerged in something. We can't have any spaces. So see how this is? This is spaces. We can't have any spaces or it will ruin the blade. So that's the reason why we don't just pour frozen fruit in there and go, oh, it's a high-speed blender. No, it's not a high-speed blender. It shaves things, but it's wanting a solid block. And even these aren't smush, you know, they're just sort of smushed. And we may have to mix up our mixture later on. So let's see if I can smush any of these a little bit, just to get them to mix in some. And like I said, I could have put this in a blender. It's just, I don't want to wash it. Quite honestly, that is what's going on with me. And you just want to make everything on the top as smooth as possible. And to me, a banana split is like strawberries and some chocolate, a little bit of pineapple on there, all kinds of fun things. Okay, we got our vanilla in there. We don't have our cocoa. Now, I said you can use cacao powder, but some people are saying it's too much. So it's too bitter for them. So maybe use half the amount if you want to use cacao instead of cocoa. And we're using about a tablespoon, but you can certainly use less. You could use carob powder, or you could leave it out completely. I know that those bananas are not quite ripe enough for me, so I'm going to put some date syrup. You could do date paste, you could do maple syrup, you could do a simple syrup, however you want to do it. And we're just going to mix it up really well. And again, if it's easier for you to blend it, that's great. I wanted you to see how everything's getting mixed up in here. And we're just making sure that we're not going past that max fill line. And even after you spin it, we can mix it some more to get all those flavors incorporated to every bite. But right now I have a tester who actually did them like strawberry, banana, and layers like that to see how it would swirl. So I haven't experimented with that, but that's something else that could be cool. Pretty much everything's going to get mixed in with everything. So all I have to do now, besides wipe up this messy counter, is put on my Ninja top, put it in the freezer for 24 hours, and then bring it out and spin it. Through the magic of the interwebs, or perhaps I have this frozen already, I've got a frozen banana split for you to look at. The color is not exactly the same because it's not the same batch. Now what I want you to see is that there's a little hump. And I'll see if you can see that from the side a little bit better. Yeah, you can see that really good. See how that's not completely level? That's not a good thing. And sometimes you just get a volcano that goes and erupts. All we have to do is let this sit for a couple of minutes and we'll scrape it. And we can even see, sometimes you can scrape it right away. So let's take a look. Okay. So I'm just going to take a spoon and see, it scrapes like gelato. Usually the ones that are fruit-based, you can scrape even when they're straight out of the freezer. So I'm just going to try and get this scraped out. And then all the stuff that I'm scraping, I'm going to press down over here or somewhere to make this kind of level all the way around. Some people go ahead and spin it if it's not that bad, but I kind of feel like I'm already working it pretty hard in some of the recipes I'm doing, so I want to save it any extra work. If the ice cream is like this, and this is coming down even, it's going to skew and it's going to start, the blade will dig into your creamy pints. That is a no-no. That will put plastic in your ice cream. That will start ruining things. Too much work on there. So you want to have it go straight down. And so far, I've been doing this every time. So far, I've had none of the problems that some people have had. Also, you can just leave this out a little extra, and that's fine too. Or you can respin it if it doesn't spin exactly the way you want it to. So we've got lots of choices. Also, you can taste it and decide if you like it or not. Hopefully you tasted it before you froze it. It's very interesting. It is a little undersweet, so for me, but what I'm going to be doing is making a real banana split out of this and putting some toppings on, because I'm doing a photo for the ebook, the Ninja Creami ebook that I'm doing. Another thing is when I'm writing on this, I'm using a wet erase marker, but you'll notice that once it hits humidity and starts to get wet, it's going to go away. So I'm looking into some other things, or if I knew I'm putting this back, I might leave the lid in the freezer. Let's talk about this for a second. So we've got this blade, we've got this. I'm going to show you how to put it together. Okay, over here, there's a paddle latch. And it doesn't look like it does anything from here, but you can see here it takes that part open. So what you're going to do is open it, then you drop this part down, and you let go. It won't go all the way to the other side, that's okay, and there will be some wiggle room. That is also okay because there's a little stem here, you can kind of see the nub, and the rest of it goes up in here. It's self-cleaning, but that's going to come down here and pop it off of the lid and go through the bottom of the thing and then come back. So we've got the bottom, and here has these holes. These special Ninja Creami pints have them, so has to fit in. If that's not in there, this lid is not going to come on. Then you're going to put the lid on and click it. Then we are going to put it straight in there, and then as we turn it, there's a little thing that comes up. It locks into place. I can turn it on. if something was here on the install, maybe I left the blade out. I've done that once before and I was like, it's clicked in there, what's wrong? Duh, right? So if you see something there, it doesn't mean you need to install like some secret software or something like that. It just means something's not installed properly. And I'm going to do smoothie bowl. Usually for bananas I do sorbet or smoothie bowl. You could do light ice cream. So I'm going to do smoothie bowl. We may or may not have to do a respin. So what we're going to do is open this up. We do not need a respin. So if this looked powdery, and sometimes it might look a little powdery, but you just go ahead and kind of do this. And you can see this is very creamy. So I'm also going to take a taste. Yum. Actually, it does taste just like a banana split, which is awesome. So now I'm just going to scoop that out, serve it. You could, for the picture I'm getting ready to do, that's probably going to be for this video. You may have seen it by now, but I haven't made it yet while I'm filming this, is I'm going to put 2 pieces of banana down, sliced in half. I'm going to put some scoops and then maybe put some chocolate syrup or some pineapple or something like that around. And then maybe some nuts on top. But you can eat it just like it is because it's really delicious. So this is banana, strawberry, chocolate, and pineapple. So all the flavors of a banana split in one. And cool, refreshing. This one doesn't have any kind of date syrup in it. The pint I made earlier did. This one I was able to use super ripe bananas, so there's no added sugar, dates, or otherwise. It's just the sweetness of the bananas. I used fresh strawberries in this batch, and I think that's the only difference. It's summer. Let's celebrate and cool down with some healthy ice cream.